Guys, so welcome to the Music Theory 3 midterm review. I hope that this helps anybody who is studying for the midterm next week. I am basically today going to go over the worksheet that he gave us because it looks like it does go over pretty much everything we've done for the semester. So starting in the first section, it looks like we have got 5 chords in a treble clef where he gives us the key signature, the Roman numeral, and the figured bass, and we have to notate the chord on the staff. So jumping into that one, if we are looking at a C major scale and a 6th scale degree, we know that the 6th scale degree in a C major is an A. And then this 4-3 tells us that it's a second inversion, which means that the bass note is going to be an E. And then from there, we just build that up to an A, C, E, G. So we've got an E, G, A, and C. And then if you wanted to go ahead and notate the lead sheet symbol for this one, you could write it as A minor, whoops, there we go, over E. Goodness, I can't type today. All right, let's go ahead and move into the next chord. So now we have a G major scale, and we've got a 4 major 7. So in a G major scale, we know that the 4th scale degree is a C, and a major 7 chord is spelled C, E, G, and B. And it looks like this one is not inverted, so we're going to start it with the bass as a C, E, G, and B. And then if you wanted to go ahead and put that lead sheet symbol in here as well, we've got a C major 7. Okay, moving on to the next chord. So we've got a C sharp minor scale and a minor 4-4-3. So in the key of C sharp minor, we know that the 4th scale degree is going to be an F sharp. And then that 4-3 tells us that it's another second inversion. So that tells us that we are going to have a C sharp on the bottom. And then we want to build up our chord from there. So we've got a C sharp, an E, an F sharp, and an A. And we don't have to notate any accidentals here because they're already included in the key signature. So let's go ahead and put the lead sheet symbol in there as well. This one in particular is a F sharp minor 7. And I'm sorry, don't forget that that is an inversion. So we're going to put that C sharp on the bottom. Okay, moving on to the 4th one. So now we have the key of E minor, and this is a 5-6/5. So now we're running into secondary dominants. So if you recall, with a secondary dominant, whenever you're building the chord on a staff, the first thing you want to do is count up from that E to whatever scale degree is listed here as the tonicized chord, and then you count up 5 from that chord, and then you go ahead and build the chord that you end up on the staff. So if you do that here, we've got we end up with a F sharp, A sharp, and C sharp. And the reason why I made that A sharp and the C sharp sharps, even though it's not included in the key signature, is because number one, this Roman numeral and figure bass indicate that it is a major triad. So we have to make it major in order to fit in here. So I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here a little bit. And then the 6 tells us that it's a first inversion triad. So we are going to start off with an A sharp, and then we have a C sharp, and finally we have an F sharp. And we don't have to notate the F sharp because it's already included in the key signature. So the lead sheet symbol for this would be F sharp over C sharp. And there we've got that, and I apologize, my figured bass is getting a little skewered here as I enter information, but that can't be helped. So now we move on to a 5-6-5 over 6 in the key of F major. So we have been presented once again with a secondary dominant. So of course we are going to follow the same thing we did with this last one. First we count up 6 scale degrees from F, and then we count up 5 more scale degrees, and keep in mind these are perfect fifths that we're counting up the second time around. So you count up 5 more from this note, and then you end up with the chord that you need to build. So if we were to do that in this number, we would end up with an A, C sharp, E, and G. And then our figured bass tells us that it's a first inversion chord. So we're going to start off with the C sharp. And there is no C sharp in this chord, but we want to add that C sharp because that's the only way we're going to make that 5 a dominant 7. So let's get our whole note here. We want to start off with a C sharp, and then an E, a G, and an A. So we have an A, C sharp, E, and G. So that's how you spell the 5-6-5 over 6. And once again, this one is an A7 chord. I keep wanting to enter the little 7th chord note, but honestly I am just too exhausted. So we're going to skip that part. Okay, so now our next 5, we are given 5 more chords to spell out on the staff, but this time we are looking in bass clef. So let's do the same process as we did before. So we've got another secondary dominant. So we've got a B flat. If you count up 5, a perfect fifth from that B flat, and then you count up another perfect fifth from that B flat, you're going to end up with a C, E, G. And keep in mind our key signature does give us a B flat and an E flat, but we want to make that E natural because this would be a minor 5 otherwise. So we are going to take a C, make that E a natural, and a G. And the reason why we don't invert this is because there is no figured bass indicating that it's inverted. And it's not a 7th either because there's no figured bass indicating that either. So now if we want to write the lead sheet symbol, easy peasy, this is just a C major. And if this chord were given to us without the Roman numerals, we would know that it's non-diatonic because of that E natural, and because in the key of B flat major, a C is not a major chord. Once again, a little skewered. Okay, so now we are given in the key of C major a 5-4-2 over 5. So we are once again looking at a dominant. So, a secondary dominant. So if you count up 5 from a C, we end up on a G, and then if you count up 5 from that G, we are going to end up with a D. So then you build your dominant 7th chord from there, because this figured bass tells you it is a 7th chord, a dominant 7th chord, and then the 4-2 tells us that it is a second inversion. So we are going to start, so our chord that we're building is a D, F sharp, A, and C, because remember we counted up 5 and then 5 more and it ended up on a D, so a D, F sharp, A, C spells a dominant, a D dominant 7. So we're going to start out on an A, and then we add a C, we add a D, and we add an F sharp. Whoops, I'm sorry, I know that's super ugly, that's just gonna bug me. Okay, so now you have a D dominant 7 over the C. Okay, now let's go on to the next measure. So now we are looking at a D minor, a 5 over 7. This one seems like it would be a little bit tricky, but it's actually not as tricky as you might think. So don't stress about it if you're looking at this like, wait a minute, is it harmonic or natural? We'll find out in just a moment. So the 7th scale degree in a D minor scale, of course, is going to be a C sharp. So sorry. So if you count up 5 from that, you end up on a G. So from here, you want to spell a G major triad because this is a 5. Whoops, let's get rid of that sharp. So we've got a G, and you know what? I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong clef. G, B natural, and a D. So we've ended up with a G major triad. So we're going to label that as a G major. And like I said, you didn't even have to worry about whether it's harmonic or natural minor because you literally just had to count up the scale degrees. And it didn't matter whether it was a C sharp or a C natural or C flat or whatever, because if you counted up 5 from that C, you're still going to end up on G. Okay, let's move on to number 9, or what I labeled as number 9 anyway. So now we go back to the regular chords. You can see that the E major scale here, we are given a 6-4-2. Let me make sure that's right. Yep, we are given a 6-4-2. So in the key of E major, we know that the 6th scale degree is going to be a C sharp, and then the 4-2 indicates that it is a minor 7th scale. So we spell a 6th minor scale, minor 7th chord C sharp, E, G sharp, and B. So let's go ahead and do C sharp, and you know what? I'm sorry, I forgot to do one thing. The 4-2 indicates that it is a 3rd inversion, so that means that we're going to start on the 7th of the chord, which is a B. So we put that B in there. We've got a C sharp, we've got an E, and we've got a G sharp. Well, I didn't even need to put the sharp in there because it's already included in the key signature. Super fun! And if you are not really sure how I'm building these chords with these specific accidentals, make sure that you check out my video on how to build 7th chords. It's really, really important that you know this stuff beforehand, because if you spend a bunch of time trying to build a 7th chord, it's just going to eat up so much of your exam time, and it's really not worth it. So check it out whenever you get a chance. So I'm going to go ahead and label this one. So it looks like we have a C sharp minor over B. Okay, now we move on to number 10, which is a severely skewered problem. I don't know why that keeps coming out that way. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so this one also looks scary, but it's really, really not. So this one we are looking for the 7 half diminished 7th 7 chord. Wow, he really went with those 7s. Anyway, so in an E flat major scale, we know that the 7th is going to be a D. So we basically just want to build that D half diminished 7th chord. So let's see here. I guess I'm going to start in the middle of the staff. You've got a D, you've got an F, you've got an A flat, that makes your diminished part, and then you've got a C, which makes it half diminished because it's a diminished chord with a minor on the top. And if you want to name this chord with the lead sheet symbol, it is a D half diminished. If I can find that half diminished symbol. Where are you? There you are. It's not perfect, but it'll do. 7. D half diminished 7. So that's how you get through the first 10 problems. So I'm going to give y'all just a minute, and then we are going to go over the next section. Okay, moving on to number 2. I guess y'all probably could have just paused it if you needed a moment, but I don't know. I figured maybe somebody's watching and following along in real time. Either way, let's go ahead and jump into it. So number 11, or as I labeled it, number 11, this is technically measure 11. Either way, it doesn't matter. So now we have to analyze and resolve these chords and complete with lead sheet symbols. So you can either do this one at a time, or you can do it like one solution at a time. Like you could go in and go ahead and name all these chords first, and then you could name their resolved chords next, and then you could just do the resolution steps, or you can just do one problem at a time and do name the chord, name the resolved chord, resolve the 7th, resolve the leading tone, resolve the other notes, check yourself, go from there. So I'm going to do it one at a time because, I don't know, that just seems like the easiest way for me, maybe, I don't know. So starting on number 11, we notice that we have an A, C, a D, and an F sharp. So that actually spells a D dominant 7th chord, and that's over an A because the A is in the bass. So looking at this D7 over A D in a B flat major scale would be a 3. Now typically in a B flat major scale, the 3 is a minor, which would make this a minor 7th. But since this is clearly not a minor 7th, that's our first indication that it is a secondary dominant. It's also a dominant 7th, which is the second, third indication, and it's non-diatonic. So if you were to take this D7 and you were to count down 5, a perfect 5th, you would end up on a G. And if you built a G triad within the key signature of B flat major, you would end up with a G minor, which is a minor 6 scale degree within the B flat major. And that does fit. So we know that this is indeed a secondary dominant. So that being said, I'm sorry, I'm going to go ahead and enter our Roman numerals if I don't mess up all my other words here. So of course the secondary dominant always starts with a 5. It looks like this one is a second inversion, so it's going to be a 4-3. We're going to put that 4-3 in there. And then, of course, we have to add our scale degree that we just counted to. So if you'll recall, we counted down 5 from this D to a G, which is a 6, minor 6, in a B flat major. And even better, that tells us that our resolved chord is also going to be a 6. And the reason for that being is that if we are not given the resolution chord, we assume that it resolves to the tonicized chord. So we're going to go ahead and put that lead sheet symbol up here as well, because I mean we literally just went over that. We're resolving to a 6, a minor 6 in B flat major, which is a G minor. Okay, so now we move on to the fun part. So the first thing we want to do is find either our 7th or our leading tone. So we're going to look for our 7th first. So in a D7 chord, the 7th is going to be a C, which looks like it's residing here in the tenor clef. So we've got a C in the tenor clef, the tenor clef in the tenor voice, and we want to resolve that down. And it looks like the B flat is the closest chord tone that we can resolve it to. Then we want to go ahead and look for the leading tone. Whenever we're looking for the leading tone in secondary dominance, we are no longer referring to this key signature. We are referring to the key signature of the tonicized chord, because the tonicized chord is the temporary new key signature. So in the key signature of G minor, which is our new temporary key signature, we know that our leading tone is going to be a F sharp. And it looks like we do have an F sharp here in the soprano. So we're going to take that soprano and we are going to resolve it upward to a G. And now all we have left to do is resolve the alto and the bass. So that D, we can actually leave that where it's at, because there is a B and a G, B flat. Ooh, I can't talk today. D. There is a D in a G minor triad. And then that A that we've got in the bass, we can take that and resolve that to a G, because now we have a G, B flat, D, and a G. So now we've got both of our our lead sheet symbols listed, as well as our Roman numerals and figured bass, and we're looking good. Let's move on to measure number 12. So now we want to follow the same process that we did before. We have got A, C, E, and F, which tells us that it is an F7 chord. And it's not an F minor 7 chord because the A flat has been naturalized. But it is over an A because the A is in the bass. So now we know our lead sheet symbol. Well, obviously in the key of A flat, the F is normally minor, but in this case it is a dominant 7, so that's our first clue that it is a secondary dominant. I'm going to tell you right now, every single one of these is going to be a secondary dominant. So we don't really have to go through that whole guessing game. So we've got our first lead sheet symbol. Let's figure out our figured bass. So if you were to count down a perfect 5 from this F, then you would end up on a B flat. And if you were to build a B flat triad in the key of A flat major, you would end up with a B flat minor, which is a second scale degree in the key of A flat major. So with all secondary dominants, we begin it with a 5, and then it looks like this one is a first inversion, so we are looking at a 6-5 for our figured bass. Let's move that figured bass down here. And then we want to put our 2 behind here, and the reason once again why we went with that 2 is because we counted down a perfect 5th from this F, ended up on a B flat, which is a second scale degree in the key of A flat major. Once again, we usually resolve to the tonicized chord whenever we're dealing with secondary dominance. So we're going to assume that this is resolving to a 2, which we have literally just established. is a B flat minor triad. Minor triad. Okay. Now on to the fun part. First thing we want to do is find our 7. So in a F7 chord, the 7th is going to be an E flat. Well, it looks like we've got an E flat here in the alto. So we're going to take that 7th and we are going to resolve it downward to a D. Now we want to look for the leading tone. Once again, remember that whenever we talk about the leading tone, we're no longer talking about this key signature, because now we're in a secondary dominant, which has temporarily changed our key signature to a B flat minor. So the leading tone in a B flat minor scale, of course, is going to be an A natural. And it looks like we've got that A natural here in the bass. So we're going to take that A natural and we're going to resolve it upward to a B flat. There we go. And then we just need to resolve our other 2 voices. So the soprano, we could actually keep that an F because there is an F in a B flat minor scale. Chord. And then we want to look at our tenor. I would strongly suggest resolving that to a B flat as well, because then you will end up with a B flat, D, and F, which is a very well balanced chord. So now we are done with this one as well, because you can see we've got our lead sheet symbols, we have our Roman numerals, figured bass, and we have properly resolved. Now don't forget to look for perfect fifths and perfect octaves. In this case, we clearly don't have any of that going on, but just something that you want to keep in mind whenever you are doing these resolutions before you finish it off, because if you end up with a perfect fifth or a perfect octave transition, then you are in the wrong. Okay, let's move on to number 13, and I do apologize. I know this is going a little bit slowly. I just don't want to do it too quickly for anybody who is struggling to catch on to this stuff. So if you feel, pretty well versed and you feel pretty well prepared, I'm going to be doing pretty much the same thing for the rest of all these. So, feel free to jump off. If you feel like you still need help, feel free to stick around. I'm going to go through all the rest of these, and then we will be done. So now we are in the key of E major. We've got our first chord, and in this case we are given the chord that we're resolving to. So we don't just assume in this case that it's resolving to the tonicized chord. So first of all, let's go ahead and name this chord. So we have a C sharp, E sharp, G sharp, and a B. And of course that spells a C sharp 7 chord. So we're going to put that lead sheet symbol in there, because why not? C sharp, and it's not even inverted, so we don't have to put slash anything. Yay! One less thing to worry about. Now we need to figure out what the secondary dominant chord is, because in a key of E major, normally the C sharp would be A minor, but it is not in this case, which tells us that it's a secondary dominant. So take that C sharp, count down a perfect fifth, and you end up, you end up on an F sharp. So you've got a, so as usual with the secondary dominants, you start off with a 5, and it looks like it's just a regular 5, 7. Don't have to add any extra figured bass because it is not inverted, and it is over an F sharp, which is a 2 scale degree in the key of E major. So now we know that we are resolving it to a 5/7 over 5. So normally we would go ahead and just put our tonicized chord here and then label our lead sheet symbol with that tonicized chord's name. In this case, we need to figure out what this is first. So following our usual procedure, if we take the E and we count up a fifth, and then we count up another fifth, we end up on an F sharp. So in this case, we've got an F sharp 7 as our chord. And if you didn't already know that, F sharp 7 is not diatonic in the key of E major, because normally an F sharp would be a minor 7 scale degree. So now we need to follow our same usual steps. So first we want to look for our 7th. In this case, in the key of, in the chord C sharp, the 7th. Oh my goodness, I forgot my 7th. There we go. So in a C sharp 7 chord, the 7th is a B natural. Looks like we've got that here in the tenor voice. So we're going to take that 7 and we are going to resolve that down to an A sharp. And the reason why I'm doing an A sharp is because an F sharp dominant 7th chord is spelled F sharp, A sharp, C sharp, and E natural. So that A cannot be natural, even though it's not listed here in the key signature. Next thing we want to do is find our leading tone. The leading tone of the tonicized chord, which incidentally is also an F sharp, of course, is going to be an E. And it looks like we've got an E sharp here in the alto voice. So in this case, our leading tone is actually not going to resolve upward. It's going to stay as an E, and we're just going to remove that sharp. And don't forget that we can do that. We can resolve the leading tone that way if we are resolving to another secondary dominant or a 7th chord. And then all we have to do is resolve those remaining notes. So we can take that G, we can resolve that down to an F sharp, and we can take the bass and you know what, I'm also going to resolve that to an F sharp. And I'm sorry, I don't know why my stems flipped over. Ignore that, it doesn't matter. You're gonna do it right, so just ignore mine being wrong. So now we have an F sharp, an A sharp, an E sharp, and another F sharp. So now we've got all of the notes that we need for an F sharp 7 chord. Ta-da! Now we move on to number 14. And I really like that we're going back to these because honestly, I really hate resolving to another secondary dominant. Maybe it's just me. Okay, so in the key of E minor, it looks like we have got a B, an E, a D, and a G sharp. So that spells an E, G sharp, B, and D if we were to put that in root position. So we want to write that lead sheet symbol up here. We know that it is an E dominant 7 over B. Now we need to figure out our Roman numerals and figured bass. So of course a secondary dominant always starts with a 5. Our figured bass, let's see, it tells us that we are in second inversion, so it's going to be a 4-3. I forgot for now, finale doesn't like 4-3. Stupid finale, catch up. Okay, so we've got a 5-4-3. Now we need to figure out what the tonicized chord is. So if you take that E and you count down a perfect fifth, you are going to end up on an A. And if you were to spell an A in the key of E minor, you would end up with an A minor, which is a 4th scale degree in the key of E minor. So now we've got our Roman numerals, figured bass, and lead sheet symbol for the first chord. And what's our usual rule? Whenever we are resolving, we're going to resolve to that tonicized chord. So let's assume we're going to a 4, and we just determined that a minor 4 in the key of E minor, of course, is going to be A minor. On to the fun part. So So let's find the seventh of this E7 over B chord. The seventh of an E dominant seventh chord is a D, and it looks like we do have a D here in the alto voice. So we're going to take that alto voice and we are going to resolve it downward to a C, which is the closest, which is the closest chord tone in an A minor. Can you tell I'm tired? Ignore me. Okay. Now we want to look for our leading tone. So once again, the leading tone, we are not looking in this key signature any longer. We are now looking in the key signature of A minor because it's our temporary key signature. So a leading tone is going to be let's see here. For an A, it's going to be the G sharp. So I'm going to take that G sharp in the soprano and I'm going to resolve it downward. Nope, I'm going to resolve it upward to an A. Goodness gracious. And then we want to go ahead and resolve our other two. So we're going to take this E. We can actually leave it where it's at because an E does fit into an A minor chord, and the B we can resolve downward to an A because why not have more roots than anything? So now you end up with an A, C, and E, which is an A minor triad.